Okay, there we go. Let's see what happens here. Hi, this is James speaking. We're getting stuff a little squared away here, so please be patient while I get my camera in the right place. If you haven't joined these before, what normally we've been doing is Zoom calls for the last probably 4 or 5 years, but in the last 2 weeks we've moved to live webcasts on YouTube. So we're actually going to see what happens here and see, in fact, if this works. So what I'm going to do first is we'll just go to make sure actually that we're streaming. Not really sure yet, so we'll check that in a moment here on another machine. So let me just go and go to my channel and figure out where things are at. So just bear with me here. We're almost kind of ready, and we'll be ready here in a moment. Let's go to the studio. My videos. Live. Streaming software. I'm live now. Okay, perfect. So again, this is James speaking. We'll see if anyone comes online today and if things are going. So I'm just going to wait another minute. We'll see if anyone comes on. And we're going to be covering, what am I going to be covering today? So I'm going to try and cover this. So what is this? This is a mind map. We're going to be going over how to actually get set up creating your first online course. And in fact, we can probably do it pretty quickly. And again, if you're seeing this for the first time, don't be afraid to ask some questions in the chat. If they're available for you, put your comments in below. And I'll try and do my best to make sure that any resources or things that we talk about today will be in there. So let me see. Again, I'm using Ecamm software on a Mac, so I'm just going to try and see which ones are here. No interviewer, so I'm just playing around with the Ecamm software, and we'll get right to that. See what panels we have. Show hide sound levels, show hide overlays. Comments, there we go. All comments. I'll just open this up and see if in fact it works. Okay, great. Comments, where's chat? So here's what I want to do today. A couple things that we've been going through over the last little while is all about creating online courses. And a lot of people are afraid to do it. If it's not afraid, it's unsure where to get started. So that's kind of the process I want to go through. I did talk about earlier I think it was last week, I talked about stealing a YouTube script, and I did another video up. It's actually there listed on the channel and on the teachonline.io community site. If you're interested in joining there for free, we've got a ton more resources there as well. But the thing that gets people stuck is making sure that they've got some kind of process to follow. So in that, what I did on that last call is I basically took the process that content creators are using, not course creators, but content creators, and I mapped it to course creating to see if it's something that you could follow, because there's a lot of people creating content, and you're thinking, well, content and a course, are they the same thing? Not necessarily, but the process that you use to actually create them is pretty consistent and works well. So that's what we did there. And let me see if I can go through actually the map here. I'll open up another map. This is the one we'll go through in a little more detail after, but the map previously that we covered in the other video that I'll recap here today. Let me just go and open that one. Make sure it's get covered here. And we'll change the there we go. There's the map there. And I'll get rid of the sidebar. So that's there. And what is this? This is actually a piece of software called Xmind again, and this is the actual course flow that I suggest that you put together for creating your lessons. So we got two pieces. We got one is the actual course, and then the flow or the structure of the lessons and how we put that together. And that's that's the tough part for a lot of people. is making sure that you actually have a bit of a course or a bit of a structure to follow with the course. So those are the two pieces. We've got this structure I'll talk about, and then the other one previously that I was mentioning was this whole idea with, let me go to that one again, and was this whole idea of making sure that, we'll open up the other screen. Again, pardon me if you are watching this for the first or second time. This is, I'm just figuring this stuff out with Ecamm. It's a little bit different. So there we go. So this is the first thing is we need to do is we're going to have to go and make sure that we've got a real handle on getting, let me zoom that in for a little bit too. You got to make sure that we have a course goal. That's a very, very first thing is what's the purpose of the course or of the lesson? And when you look at this, when you look at YouTube creators, often what will happen is the course creator, the content creator partner on YouTube is going to say, what's the purpose? What's the real title and thumbnail they'll focus on? But what is it you want to share with your content? Again, exact same thing is with your course or lesson. The thing that's really different for me is a course is not for entertainment. Its focus is on teaching something or educating someone on something. So you got to get at least a really good idea before you even get started on this is what do you want people to learn at the end of it? You know, it's at the end of the session. What is it that you want to have happen? And again, if you do have questions, put them in the comments there. And I think the chat is live. I'll go and take a look at that on another screen here as well, just to make sure I don't miss anything as I'm kind of new to this on YouTube. So let's go to play that. And I'll see if there's actually a chat up on the side there. And there we go. Okay, turned off. Yeah, so there's no chats there, so that's fine. Yeah, so at the end of the session, what is it you want to have people know? Like, what do you want to have taught them? What is the outcome or the purpose of this lesson or this course? In this case, we're talking about a course. So I want you to write down, just make sure, write down, these are the specific things I want the person to be able to do at the end of it. What is the action that you're trying to share or teach to people? What is it that you need them to know in order to do something better? What are the questions you have to answer for them? Or what are the questions that they have, and what are the answers that you can provide that will help them to the outcome? It's not about just answering a question. It's asking or answering a series of questions to get people to an outcome. So, you know, content creator may answer a single question, but it doesn't put it in context necessarily, not as well as a course. Again, when I'm talking about courses, my personal perspective on this whole idea of courses is that a course is, I think a course is about multiple lessons or topics. The other thing that's interesting with a course, as opposed to a tutorial, a course has segments to it where you're going to ask someone to do something that's external to you transferring the content to them. So it's not just about you going and saying and dumping some information. A real course, or a course that is a little more formal, will have quizzes. It will have assignments. We'll have surveys. It'll have pieces within the learning platform or where you're sharing these that you have to ask someone to do something, to prove to themselves and to you as the instructor that they've actually understood what it was that you're trying to teach them. So there might be something internal that you're going to ask people to do at the end of this lesson or topic. And then there might be an external task that you're requesting as well to go out and apply it for themselves. So, you know, what is the goal for people, and then breaking down what are the steps or the lessons that you need to share. And that's, if you look over here, we've got, just move over to the screen. Number 2 is, you know, we're sitting there, list the steps in order to create the lessons. So these lessons are part of the process, and you're turning that process, or the steps in the process, or the things they need to know, you're turning them into individual lessons. So a little bit different than just answering one question. Here's the answer to it. It's like, what is it to get to this outcome at the end of the day? What are the steps that people need to follow to do that? And the thing you've got to, you know, that'll come out pretty easily here quickly is that you'll know is how big is that process? How long is that process? What's involved in that process in terms of the time for you to answer that individual question or explain that individual step? How much meat is there? Is it something that can be done in all of the process in 2 minutes, or something that takes 10 minutes for each step? So you're going to come up with this, you have a course goal. You're going to take a look at, what it is you're trying to, the outcome you're trying to share with people. The next part is like, what are the steps there? But more importantly, you're going to take a look and say, well, how much meat is in those steps? How hard is it for me to teach what's in those steps? Most of the courses that I've seen will have probably about a list of maybe 4 to 7 steps. Sometimes you'll see like a 3-step process. Other times you may see like a 48-step process. Again, my personal preference is keep it at 4 to 7, somewhere in there. If it's a little bit longer course, if it's a mini course, you might do 2 or 3 steps kind of thing. Tutorial, I would pick as 1 step. So that's the way I name them. If there's only 1 step and you can do it all in a couple minutes, it's a tutorial. If you've got multiple steps and they all require some time and they're related to each other, do 3 steps or a short number. It's a mini course, but you're still sharing those individual steps. If you're going to do a full course, I would structure it anywhere from 4 to 7 steps, maximum 10, because you've got maybe 10 individual lessons. If you're doing more than that, you're going to have to chunk up the course in segments, and that's time for another topic. So the task for you at this point is you're going to go, okay, I got a goal, course goal or outcome, list out what are the actual steps in the process, and create lessons from those. You're also going to put the lessons in order. And thing that's I get a kick out of is I'll kind of brainstorm, I'll put down the lessons and I'm going, wow, this is okay. I understand it. And then when you start to write them down, you go, well, maybe this process isn't necessarily in the order that I think it should be. It might be a completely different process in structure. So you can, when you list those out, you're going to see that there's probably a hierarchy of steps, and I need you to organize those, or at least consider organizing them in a way that makes sense when you're teaching it. Again, personal structure, personal preference, up to you and your teaching style in terms of the way you share the information that you have. But you're going to have a list of steps at the end of the day that provide the process or the information that the students or the people you're trying to teach that answer the big outcome at the when they're finished the course. Next step over here, number 3, chunking lessons into topics. Again, if you have any questions or comments here, make sure to put them in the comments below, and also join the teachonline.io site. Again, free community site with more resources available to you. I want to go through step number 3 next, which is chunking lessons into topics. And this is kind of an interesting one, and I'll show you why on the next little mind map that we take a look at. I personally, again, personal style, but what I've seen from online courses that's most effective is that when you create those lessons that list the steps to create lessons, they can't be too long. They have to be of some substance. You've got to put an actual step or some content in there. But you don't want a lesson to be 40 minutes long. People will lose interest. I've seen that if you look at a lesson length, maybe 5 to 10 minute chunks, that size is a handy size to share the information that you need, but to keep the learner engaged, to keep the person that you're teaching engaged. Sometimes if it's too short, you're in a position where you don't have long enough to explain things. On the other hand, if you're too long, you're going to lose people who are going to try and skip it and go on to the next one because they think they have enough information that was shared at the beginning of it. So you've got these lessons. What I'm suggesting after this is you've got to chunk those lessons into individual topics. And again, we'll cover that on the other mind map. And then after that, you're going to say, okay, great. What's my lesson course topic flow? And if you take a look at this, it's kind of, for me, just think about this for a second. If we take a look at this screen right now, you can see that's exactly what we've done here. Hey, Mark, how are you doing? Mark's just joined us here. I've got a mind map that we've used, but look what's here. I got course goal, lists of steps to create lessons, chunking lessons into topics, and confirm the lesson course topic structure. Exact same thing that you're doing with a course. I'm doing this as a process to follow during a live webcast today, but it's the exact same thing when you're creating content that you're teaching to someone. How do we structure it? This is the structure that I suggest that you follow. So I got my everything's put together here. I got my content, I've got it mapped out. I put it in a mind map. I write it out in an outline, whichever way works best for you. When you've got that kind of put together in terms of the structure, you're going to have to create a title and, in many cases, a thumbnail for the course. A couple other videos I mentioned, well, you might want to have a thumbnail or a title beforehand. I mentioned this in the course goal. Maybe we should have put, how to create a title up here. When you have a course goal, you're thinking in the back of your head, how can I explain this or share to people that this is the purpose that I want, but I need to have something enticing in terms of a title that's going to get them to want to take or learn what the purpose or the outcome is. If you go to YouTube, for example, there's 7 billion videos. They're all screaming for your attention, and some have got thumbnails that are really enticing. Other ones don't. Some have titles that are really enticing. A lot of them don't. If you go to Udemy or any of the course providers where they're aggregating courses, it's like a mini YouTube for courses, right? And if you look at it, there's a list of courses available to people. And if you don't have a great title and idea for the outcome that you're trying to teach, it's very hard to get people to even take the course. Unless it's forced, of course, when you're a company or providing certification or something along those lines. But, you think about that when you're creating the course goal. You've got to make sure that I understand what all the pieces are for my outcome. You want to make sure that you have a title and you settle on a title and some idea as a hook for that title in order to get people to consume your lessons and topics and the outcome or the goal that you're trying to get people to achieve. I put a whole bunch of different ones in here on different styles. And again, we can go over that on another time. There's a whole list of these ones that I put together. And the one that's the easiest for me to kind of share is what I call creatively plagiarize what other people are doing. If you are following on YouTube or you're following other course creators, there's some compelling titles, right? There's some thumbnails that grab your attention, that compel you to at least want to find out more. I put in the list here, and I'll include this map below in the comments or in the resources below. You can get people compelled using these strategies, but you've got to kind of have, okay, what is it that I'm going to have my course goal, my title, how am I going to hook those up together? And creatively plagiarize, it's an easy thing to do. And some of the strategies that we talk about here in this how to create a title section below, some of them, it's a formula. And you can look at these lists and then you'll go, oh, I understand where that comes from. One of them, for example, is, where's one? Where's one that's a good one? The 7 easiest ways to. So you've got a list and a promise at the end of it. Start to finish approach. Complete guide to. So it's complete guide to an outcome. But again, there's just different strategies that you can use there. Some of them are do this to get that approach. So an example of that is speak and grow rich. So something and something's how you link it together. Prospect and sell. No prospecting, more sales. So you can see there's a different bunch of strategies there. You're going to have to pick one at this point. The other reason I suggest people pick here is that title is when you have the title, it's always reminding you when you're actually creating the content what the goal or the purpose is. You have to be able to share that outcome that you're promising in the title. So you've got a title, you've got a thumbnail, you're promising something to someone. If you keep focused on that, because you have a title already set up, it's going to keep you on track for delivering the content that you've figured out here. Next step in this whole thing with courses, course delivery options. This is almost like a business model. One of the things that for me personally is there's a billion ways to actually go and not only create courses but sell them now. And you've figured out the outcome you want to share, but what is it? How does it need to be delivered to guarantee that outcome? Is it just some videos that you're recording? Is it videos and quizzes? Do you need people to take the videos in order or take the lessons in order, or do you want them to jump around? Do you want to provide quizzes or give people assignments that they have to complete before they can go on to the next one? Are there things like certification that you want to provide if they can show a competence in following your process that you're teaching? So you got to think in your head, okay, I got the content that I want to share. I understand what the outcome is that I'm promising, and I've got a title for it. The next one is how do I need to deliver the content that I'm thinking of? How do I need to deliver it in a way that is going to guarantee that piece of information? So I'm going to close that one up. We'll go to the next one I have here is student engagement. If you look at any of the stats, whether it's watching YouTube or creating courses, the biggest problem that most content creators or course creators run into is it's like, take the whole course, watch the whole video, watch all of the lessons, understand all of the topics. It can be really, really hard to get people to do that if you haven't structured things properly and you haven't provided a compelling outcome at the end and kept people engaged. Number of ways of keeping people engaged is, you see, when we'll talk about this in a little more detail before, but using the community and the discussion around particular topics is a powerful way because it gives people a sense to apply what they understand that you're teaching and see how it's used in other situations to learn from them. And if you do or can get multiple people taking the same course at the same time, it's a very powerful thing to use the information and the experiences that other people taking the course, what they're doing when they apply it. So if you can create some kind of community around your course, like we do here with BuddyBoss and LearnDash, and those are the tools that we use for creating these learning environments, you try and put those together in a place where people can actually share what's going on. The other thing is badging and gamification. This really applies when you have multiple courses. So of all of the instructors or people teaching online that I've run into, specifically online, where they have like a huge amount of knowledge or education in something that they really want to focus on, they have more than one course. They have tons of courses, and there's a lot of different pieces of information that can be used for a completely big outcome. I'll give you an example of that. If I was going to teach you how to start teaching online or building a training site, there's all sorts of things that can be involved there that are more than one course. So it's like, what should I start teaching? Can be a series of courses, or how do I pick the right course to create? What are the tools that I need to create the course? If I have a course, how do I put it on my own training site, or should I put it on my own training site? Once I have it there, how am I going to market it? How am I going to support it? There's a lot of multiple courses that can be all connected to the big outcome you're providing. So badging and certification and gamification, badging and gamification gives another form of enticement to keep the learners or the people that you're teaching to consume the course, but also to consume multiple courses in your environment or your learning platform, your training site that you're building out. And again, student engagement, I recommend that you have some form of that to keep people involved in the courses and involved in the training site. So social, interacting, members, discussion forums, badging, gamification, and really getting discussion going on the site is a big part of it. The last one over here, getting paid. It's like, is it going to be a freebie? Are you giving it away for free out of the goodness of your heart? Or is it part of a bigger picture, or are you selling the course? Now, some people may go, well, James, how come you're here on the site right now and you're giving this away on YouTube? And there is some good information here on YouTube. And I will give this particular one away for free, but there's so much more that needs to be done if you are serious about this. And the thing that's going to happen is you're going to have questions. And as much as I could say things here or show you screens that cover everything, it won't. There's always questions about how things get applied for you specifically. So you share that in content on a YouTube video, you can do that. But if it's only a small kind of content video answering one question, it becomes, well, how do these get connected? How do I actually take the 7 videos that I was watching on YouTube from 7 different people? How do they all fit together? In a course, you're in a position where you can take those 7 lessons and you can guide people through them and, in fact, answer them. And that's what we do on teachonline.io. We have a free site there with a lot of free tutorials, but we have mastery courses that we sell that show you how they all fit together. Second thing is that I think blended learning is going to be really important moving forward. And blended learning is all about having online videos, online courses or tutorials, but also joining it in with the live instructor. And that live instructor can be someone who's doing live coaching calls associated with the course. It also can be live sessions where it's in person, where you've got a trainer, an instructor, someone teaching the content that supplements or complements what's in the online portion. So blended learning is going to be a big thing, and you got to pay for that in many cases. If you want to interact with the teacher, you want to interact with the coach or the speaker or the subject matter expert, you got to think about it and go, okay, so how do I do this? That's all about getting paid. So think of it this way. It's like I got individual tutorials not connected. They're free on YouTube. If I want them connected and structured in a way and I want to be supported, maybe you want to charge for those. A couple different ways of charging for them. A lot of people will do a single payment. Other people will do a subscription, monthly ongoing. Some people will do a partial recurring. Again, different ways of doing that. And all of them relate to what's my business model like? How do I build my business, or what other products and services do I include with this course that are generating revenue with me? But you got to figure out how to get paid. So I hope this makes sense. If we just do a little recap here, and I'll go on to another kind of slide that's interesting here in terms of actual lesson content, and then how we can put it all together. So let me minimize this here. And again, we'll leave it up on the screen. So how to plan and organize your online courses for sale. You got to have a course goal or outcome. Next thing you want to do is list the steps to create the topics. You also want to chunk the lessons into topics. We'll see why in the next little session. Confirm the lesson course structure. So make sure it's in the right order. Everything's together. Have a great title, something that's compelling, that explains what it is you're promising to people. How are you going to deliver it? How are you going to keep people engaged, and how are you going to get paid? So that's kind of my gist on it right now. And, in as much as it's easy to look at here, it takes some work and effort. You got to spend some time on it. It's not something that just happens automatically. It's not something that, you can just kind of throw together and have it work, even though some people will start to do this. And for me, the one of the things to keep in the back of your mind is that it's like, hey, I've got this course or these courses. How am I going to support the people that I'm teaching? How is it that I'm just not going to dump information? What are the other pieces of my business or the stuff that I want to share expertise? Is it just about dumping content, or is it actually, completing the promise for people? Completing the outcome that you want to share, what it is that you want to do, or make people know that you can teach them to do something that's important to them. So, think of this in the back of your mind. Make sure that you understand what it is that you're doing, and make sure it's something that people want. If you are teaching something that people are interested in and they don't need to learn, they don't want to learn, they have no reason to learn it, it doesn't matter how well you structure it or put a title together. There's just not enough people that are interested. And it's not about business stuff either. I'll give you an example. One of the ones that I ran into is a person who has, I think, close to over 250,000 subscribers on YouTube on how to do knitting. So yeah, that's right, knitting. Coming from a business perspective, you go, how can someone have that many students or people for knitting? Well, there's a huge market for it. She creates YouTube videos and has courses that she sells. She gives away the YouTube videos. She sells the courses. But there's 250,000 people who want to know how to knit. Again, tons of content, tons of information that's available to her. She gives little pieces of it on YouTube, but she puts it together and provides outcomes or shows people how to do things right within that knitting market that they want to do. And whether that's completing a big project, whether that's starting their own knitting business, there's something that she's promising that there's enough people that are interested in. So you got to make sure that you've got something to teach that people want to learn. Either that or you're doing it nonprofit, and that's okay too, but it's up to you to have that getting paid part in your head covered before you put a whole bunch of time, energy, and effort in this, unless you're just doing it for fun. Okay, so I hope that kind of helps to put the big picture together. The next thing, and again, if there's any comments in behind, let me know. Again, I'll put the resources here, and make sure to join the teachonline.io site, the community site. It's free to join there, where we have a lot of the different videos and mastery courses that revolve around this. So let me go to the, I'm going to go back to, let's go back to here, back to the monitor for a second. And I'm going to, on this one, let me go and we'll open up another window here. Go to the other one. So here's one, and I hope you can see this one. I'll move it up a little bit. So here's the one that we did last week. That was all about. This one was all about how do I kind of create my content, or how do I put it together here. So this is how you actually structure your content that you're giving. And before you do that, one of the things that you've got your content, you've got to remember how to capture it. So what are you going to do with this? We're talking about doing video courses or online video courses. You've got to capture this information. One of the things that I promise people is that if you want to, you can create your course in a day. So how can you create a course in a day? Well, we did a little bit of an outliner. What is the course, or how am I going to put this together? I've got this screen up here, which is about the actual structure of the individual lessons. So how do you capture it and be able to apply these two pieces together? The easiest way that I've seen is using, for example, a Zoom account. If you have a free Zoom account, it's easy to do a broadcast or a Zoom call, and you don't even need anyone on the other end. You can capture what it is that and record what it is, what you're doing on the Zoom call. If that means just talking into a camera, if it means sharing a screen, whether that be a live screen or a PowerPoint presentation, something that you've got that allows you to teach what it is that you're teaching, you've got to be able to capture it. So simple Zoom account is something that you can put together. In this case, we're using Ecamm Live, which is broadcasting software that's available on the Mac. There's services you can get inexpensively or free trials. One of them, for example, is StreamYard, which allows you on your browser to use your webcam and just record what it is that you're doing in front of the camera. Sometimes you may have to have a static camera, just showing what it is that you're doing, or recording what it is while you're doing it, and providing edits after. The thing is, you've got to find some way to record the actual material that you're teaching, and video is often enough. And remember that a course doesn't mean it has to be video. If you have step-by-step text, if you have images, if you've got recordings or audio recordings, if that's all that needed, it doesn't have to be a video, but personally I find it a lot easier and quicker to do it. But if you want to record audio, just record yourself. If you're not overly excited about being on camera, do stuff where it's recording your hands. Any webcam will do this, any mobile phone will do this, but you've got to record yourself. We put together, actually, we have some sessions that I do, other live sessions, and it's like what I learned on YouTube today for creating great courses. The biggest problem that content creators have is they're afraid to not have a perfect video on YouTube. The biggest problem that I find course creators is they want or need or think that they have to have a completely perfect, polished course in order to call it a course. You have to have quality content in your course, not quality production. If you have engaging and very, very high quality content, it doesn't matter what it looks like in terms of fancy presentation or all sorts of neat stuff going on in the video. It requires lots of editing. Capture your content. So just capture what it is that you're doing. I mentioned creative plagiarization. The other term that I'll use is digital exhaust. For many people who are experts, they're doing what they're teaching themselves on a regular basis. If you are helping a customer, ask permission with that customer to record what you're doing while you're doing it. And that could be something physical. It could be something that you're just doing on a computer screen or by yourself with someone. Just ask permission and say, hey, is it okay if I record the work that I'm doing for you? And capture your digital exhaust. Capture in terms of online or digital material, the work that you're already doing, just capture it. If you're doing that in a day and you have enough content in that day that fits into the steps that we talked earlier about having a process to share, breaking it into lessons in order, and then having the topics in those lessons, capture some digital exhaust. Doesn't have to be perfect, but capture enough to show that process that it is that you want to teach. So we got creative plagiarization for following other people and getting an idea of what people want to learn. We've got digital exhaust, which is capturing your content that you're already creating or the tasks that you're already doing. Capture it in a way that's digital, whether that be audio, video, text, pictures, anything along those lines. And then you got to put it together. You got to set it up. And that's what we'll talk about right now. So these are the pieces that I have, and I'll minimize these so we can talk about them individually. And again, this is, if you notice here, I've got a mind map put together, and this is what I did personally before I came on here. I was going, okay, well, for lessons and courses, what's the process that you need to have for a lesson and course? So we're going to go through it quickly here. And if you want to, find out more about these, they're in the Teach Online site, but let's go through them quickly just so that you can see the process. In the course or in an individual lesson, these are the ones that I suggest that you use, and these are stolen. They're stolen from YouTube content creators and great online course creators. You'll see that this is, in general, this is a type of format that most of them follow. Doesn't mean you have to follow them, but it's a good idea, easy way to follow them. And let's go through the first one. It's got a bit set up. When I first started creating courses, what I was doing creating courses is you'd start them all the same. And many of the courses that you see that are older ones, especially online ones, it's like you have a tip and a tail. And the tip and the tail was some kind of animated introduction to the course or the lesson. And it's, hi, this is James from so-and-so, and, welcome to this. It's an introduction, and might take 30 seconds. Some people could, go on for a minute just talking about themselves or their company, and giving a blurb that doesn't have anything to do or is disconnected from the actual course or material you're trying to teach. Why is that a problem? Because people are lazy and they don't want to wait for the answers to the questions that they have or the outcomes that they're trying to achieve. So now my suggestion is, and what we'll see on YouTube and all the courses, is you need to set up the course or the lesson before doing any kind of introduction. Now, what do I mean by the setup? The setup is the very, very start of your course videos or lesson video. Is you've got to go, here's a compelling situation. Here's something where you're giving people not a promise, but you're telling people about a situation that they can relate to. And if they can't relate to that, it's not for them. The lesson or topic is not for them, unless, of course, you're forcing them to take it for business. But if you're doing a course or a lesson, you have to give people a heads up on what it is and why it's important for them. And if you can explain or create a situation for them where they can identify and they raise their hand and go, yeah, that's me. I understand. This is what I need to know about. That's the key to starting any of these courses and or lessons. So what's the struggle? People go, yes, that's me. And then you have to explain, what's the problem? What's the struggle here? Why is this not good? Or why do I need to know about this? One thing is to say, yes, it's for me. The next part is I gotta know, why do I need to learn this? And that's where you've got to, you're talking about the situation, but then you're going to give some kind of implication of a struggle. It's like, but when this happens, this bad stuff happens. And if some bad stuff happens, in many cases or most cases, people are going to want to, they identify it, they go, yeah, that's something that I struggle with, or something I need to fix, or that's a question that I have as well. You're going to give some options on, well, this is what you can do to fix it. So that whole setup part, it only needs to be as long as it needs to. It only needs to be as long as it needs to be. It's like raise my hand, identify it, and go, yeah, that's it. That's something I need to learn about. This is when I run into it and it's a problem for me. I need it fixed. And then here's some of the options on what you can do. So make sure you set it up. After that, again, doesn't have to be long. After that, you're going to give them a promise. And what's the promise? You're saying, but when this happens, you've got these options, and here's how we're going to fix it in this lesson or this course. So you're promising them that you've identified this piece, but it's like, I'm going to fix it, and this is what's going to happen. Now, the other thing with that promise, or that promise and the fix, is a good way to make sure that people take the whole course or go through everything, is give them some kind of bonus tease. And what do I mean by that? It's like, here's the fix I'm promising, but at the end of it, I've also got something extra that you're making them wait for. Now, you can tell people exactly what it is if it's of high value, or you can keep it a secret and not tell them what the bonus is at the end, which may be a little more enticing for people, but it's like the promise and some kind of bonus tease you want to put in place there. So number 3, again, I'm going through these pretty quickly. The reference. This is almost like the introduction. And again, it applies really to lessons or courses, but it's like, okay, I'm going to show you that I've got the setup, we've done a promise, and it's like it puts it in content. The reminder is this is important, or you need to learn this because, and that's the big picture. You have to remind people, where does it fit in? And again, this can be a course, can be why the course is important in a bigger picture, or if it's a lesson, it's like, where does this lesson fit in the course? But you got to give people a reminder and say, okay, identified it, problem, I get it, here's the promise, and then it's like, where does this fit in? So if it's lesson number 4, out of 7 lessons, you're going to let people know where it fits in. If it's one course, a part of something that needs to do in their case for a career or their hobby or whatever they're wondering about, it's like, how does that fit in? So give them a reference point. Here's the one that people, we're going to go back to the other little mind map we're talking about. It's the content. So we haven't even got to the content yet. These can be quite short, but they should be included here, because if you just get to the content, people might go, well, this content doesn't necessarily apply to me, or why do I need to learn this? So where does it fit into things? In the content, we talked about in the other one about having those lessons and topics put together, right? So we said 4 to 7 lessons if you're going to have a full course as an example. This lesson or course, here's the content. And I put lesson or topic 1, lesson or topic X. We go back to the previous mind map. It's like, how many steps in the process? How many of the ones that I laid out? This is where you're going to put them in. And these can be individual lessons or topics within a lesson. So kind of neat here. If it's, if you're doing a course with only lessons, you might have 4 to 7 here. If you're doing a lesson and that lesson has a number of topics that you need to cover, you can do the same thing within a topic. So this is the structure that I suggest that you use when you're creating the content. So let's say you are recording on Zoom or you are capturing what you're doing. Just add this little bit to it, knowing that you're going to capture it. So if you have a lesson or a topic, it's like, what is the point you're getting across? Or what is the tip that you're giving people? Or what is it that you're trying to teach people in that? So what is it? What is it that you're telling them to do? That's the first part. Second one is why, where, how to apply it. So this is something that you need to do. This is why it's important. This is how you apply it. This is where it might be used. And then the next step is to give an example or a case study. And this is a powerful way to teach people. It's like, this is what it is. This is how it's used. And this is why you want to use it, where you want to use it. And then here's an example of it. So follow this process when you're delivering your content. And it can be on lessons or topics, on both or one at a time. And so it's the tip, the why, where, and how, and then an example or case study. And again, you can have multiple topics, multiple lessons. We looked at that in the previous flow chart to play around with it. Next one, number reveal. We're going to go through that one. The bonus. You've done all your content. You've done all your lessons and topics. We'll open that one up. It's like, okay, so what's the bonus? If you give away or reveal the bonus that you shared with people or said you were going to give them, this is where you might want to give it. And then finally, and again, these ones are up to you on these ones. You might reverse them. CTA or close. So you have a call to action. You want to, you're teaching a process. You might have multiple courses. You might have multiple lessons. It's like, what do I need people to do at the end of it? Do I want to tell them to do something, or do I just need to end this particular section or topic? Here's some examples that we've used in the past. If there's exercises, for example, in Learn-1 there's quizzes, assignments, surveys. You want to tell them, hey, look, you got to do this. Or these are the next steps for you. Those are internal to the course, right? It's like, do this assignment, do this, complete this quiz before you can go on to the next lesson, or before you finish the course, you have to finish this task. You got to tell them to do it. Give them instructions and say, take the quiz, complete the quiz, but give them a call to action. The other one is an outside task. So let's say you've got something that's in the online material. You may request them, say, hey, look, next step is go use this and come back. So apply this idea that we've shared, or this process we've done, or something that I showed you how to do. Go try it now. So that's an outside task. And then the last one I have there was a next course or lesson setup. If this is part of a process, one of the good things to do is, you've got a call to action, but you close it by teasing the next step or process or lesson that you've got to take to finish the course. So that they're going, okay, I learned this, I understand it, I got the bonus, that's where it is, I know what I have to do, and then you're giving them a reason to go on to the next part of the process. That process can be the next lesson, but it also can be another course, right? If you're finishing up the course, you can say, now, if you want to see how what we just learned today in this course fits into a bigger picture, go check out this site or enroll in this course. So this is kind of the process that I suggest that you put together when you're creating these courses. I'm just going to close these all up now. And you can see sometimes I scroll up and scroll down on the screen. That's what happens when you have Macs and PCs and you're just new to Macs. The scroll wheel is opposite on Windows and Mac, so I'm just getting a hang of that. So we've got lessons and courses, we've got the structure for our content, and we've got how the course kind of gets put together. The next part is, how do we capture all this? How do we capture all this? I talked about a couple ways of doing it. The thing is, you've got to capture it in a digital format to be able to use it for an online course. So you got to capture it, and my recommendation when you're starting out, if you want to do this quickly, is capture what you're already doing. Or if it's digital stuff where you just want to show a website or a PowerPoint presentation or a screen capture, or if it's you in front of a camera, for lack of a better thing, it's like capture it in a Zoom, capture it in a free tool. Again, just getting started. If you already have other tools that you're using on a regular basis, just capture it. Turn the recording on. Things, if you're not recording normally, just start recording them so that you've now got an asset, a digital asset that you can use to create a course. And you're going to be amazed and delighted how much stuff that you actually capture over time. And, if you can't do it in a day, capture day one, capture day two, and you've got these digital assets. Now you can put them together and have it as something you can stitch together to create a course based on the lessons and topics that you've put together. So here's my call to action. We're going 53 minutes now. Here's my call to action. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to, map out what it is that you're trying to teach, have some kind of outcome that you're trying to share with people, or something that you want people to be able to do after. I want you to, go back and download that first part about breaking it into lessons and topics and getting your points all put together, figuring out how you're going to deliver it, how you're going to charge for it, where it fits into stuff. So do that work. Go do that work right now. And the checkpoint there is that if I put this all together, is it something at the end of the day that people will want to learn or need to learn or will be engaged enough to want to learn? And if that's not the case, you're doing it for fun, do one for fun. Just have some fun with it and capture yourself to see what happens. After that, you're going to put it together in terms of some material in a course. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. It can be broken up into individual videos, or you can do it in a stop and start video. Again, different ways of doing that. And there's a number of free tools to do that if you're just getting started. We use, for example, Camtasia from TechSmith, which is a tool that allows us to edit material that we've captured and break it into individual lessons and do things like captions and soundtracks and fades. So you can do that later, but you don't have to. You don't have to. If you are just capturing it in an hour, just try and look at that lessons and course, that last map that we talked about, setting it up and promise. Just, think of that in the back of your mind, or put it on a piece of paper in front of you and say, okay, good. I got to explain what I'm doing now when I'm doing it. I got to let people know at the end of it, here's what they're going to be able to do in the course of the lesson. Remind them where it fits in. And if you've reminded them where it fits in, it's like dump the content. What is it you need to teach, or how does it work for people? And then tell them to do something at the end. You don't have to have a bonus. You don't have to do any of these in exact same order. It's just a suggested structure. If you just capture stuff to get started, break it into those lessons and topics from the first map we looked at. If you are getting a little more detailed and you want to make sure that all the lessons are consistent and you've got a set process in place that you follow to create your content, go ahead and do that. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just get started capturing all of your content. Okay. I'm just looking at some of the questions here. For software to transcribe MP4 audio file, not videos. Okay, here's an interesting one that you can use in terms of tools. And again, it's one that we've listed here. And one of the people that I follow actually just finished this, a course on this. If I'm not mistaken, there's a piece of software called Descript, which is, I believe they have a free level, but they also have a paid level. And you can put audio files and or video files, and it will automatically transcribe the content. So you've got a recorded audio file. Let's say you do a Zoom call. You do a Zoom call for an hour. I'm doing this live in Ecamm. I get a video at the end, and I get an audio file. Finished. It's recording right now. So if I wanted to, I could take that audio file or that video file. I could upload it to Descript. Descript will do an automatic transcription of the content. And the great thing with Descript is I can actually edit the text or the transcription. And when I do that, what it does is it actually edits the audio file and or the video file. So let's say, for example, I do this long monologue. I'm talking about something for an hour or 20 minutes, and 7 minutes of it is completely has nothing to do with what it is I want have recorded. Just remove the text, look through the text, see where you're talking about something that doesn't make sense, get rid of words like and and so, which is difficult not to use when you're talking, especially to yourself in a camera. You're going to this train of thought stuff. When you've got the text there, you just cut the text. And when you save it, it's made the cuts in the audio. It's removed the pieces in the video. You've now got an audio to download that you can use that for most intents and purposes is edited and only contains the content that you want it to have. From there, you can use a number of free tools to go and actually, dress up the content. If it's an audio file, I know there's Audacity, which is a free piece of software you can install on both your Mac and PC. If you need to do fades and background music, there's a number of tools and resources available. If it's a video, you can use lots of different tools. The video, for example, you can just use the YouTube editor if you want to do something really basic with a video. If it's on a phone, there's lots of free and inexpensive editors for use on your phone. Upload the video, do the video edits in the YouTube editor. Windows has Windows Movie Maker, I think it's called, and then iMovie is the one on the Mac. These are pretty good editors that will do simple edits. It doesn't have to be fancy. It has to be published, and it has to have quality content that people are going to want to actually watch and listen to. So good title, good content, good thumbnail with it, thumbnail, title first, quality content second, get people learning it, and then give them a reason to want to complete it. So hope that helps there. It's Descript. It's Descript. The actual site is Descript. Actually, let me see if I can go back here. And we'll go to the second monitor, and I'll try and pull up a screen here. There we go. We'll just open this one up and see if I can get to it. And I'll include an affiliate link below on this one. There it is, Descript. Okay, so what Descript is, transcription, podcasting, screen recording, social clips and templates, overdub, studio sound, filler word removal. All of this information is available to you. In this case, if I want to go and sign in on this one, I'm not sure if I actually have, I might be able to see this in this case. Going to log in on this one. Where's one that we did? I've actually got the app on here, so it's going to open up the app, and hopefully we'll be able to see the screen here. Yep, that's opening up. Tip of the day. I don't want the tip of the day. See if that one opens up for us. No. Did I get it to open? I think it's open in the other screen. See if I can get this one on my Mac to open up on the other one. Let me see if I can do this one. No, that's not it. I don't know how to do this on this one. On the Mac, here's an example of something I'll have to edit after. How do I get that to work? Window, let me see if I can, let's go move to there. There we go. Just seeing if I can get it to show up on the other one. Screen share. No, I don't know how to get this over here. Maybe I'll minimize that one. There it is. Okay, drive view. Yeah, so this is Descript now. So I'll open this up. Here's one, for example. So here's what happened is I uploaded some content here, and then on this one, we've got the editing of the content. And if you want to make an edit, it's like delete it, and it's gone. Remove it, and then when you're ready, you're going to go and publish it. It's going to save it without the text that you've cut out. And if it's a video, it's going to do that. If it's an audio podcast, it's going to cut that out as well. And you can see at the bottom, we've got, for example, all the timeline, the timestamps of what's happening here. Really, really powerful tool to use. And you can do some neat things with it, comment on sections, but cutting and posting, even things in this example here. This was one in BuddyBoss 13 Ways that I actually did a audio transcript of someone else's content that I'm going to use the content in some of the content I create, but I just copied it, something that was a live podcast. I captured it because now I have the text to it. I captured other people's content, and I'm going to use parts of their content, the ideas in it. I'm going to be using it in some of the lessons that I teach because it relates directly to it. So that one, Mark, I hope that one works for you. I'll put the link in below as well. And we'll go from there. What do we got there? Yeah, so that's called Descript. And that Descript one, we'll open the window again. It is, yeah, it's descript.com is the site that's there. Descript.com. Let me open this one up. There we go. Okay, so I hope that helps. How long have I been talking for? Oh, there we go. A full hour. So I think we'll call it a day on that one. There we go. Yeah, we'll, again, if you have any other questions, make sure to go to teachonline.io. We'll include all the resources that are hopefully that we've talked about there as well. And okay, call it a day. Now we've got some other chats here that I think don't need to be there, so we'll get rid of those shortly. I'll not show these in the next time. So again, thanks for joining, and we'll talk to you again shortly. These are on every Wednesday, so we'll go for there and see what happens. Okay, take care. Expect the best. Let's end this. How do I do that? Well, let's go and find out. There we go. Ecamm Live. End away.